Hello world, this is Ivan Omer. It is coming to 5 o'clock this afternoon. I said if you hear the noise upstairs, you're going to have to bear with me as there's some people upstairs, so you might hear a bit of noise. Just like in my last video, you heard a bit of noise because my stepmother was watching some church sermon. And for this video, you're going to hear some noise. You're going to most likely hear some noise because there's people upstairs in the house, obviously. So today I'm going to finish off chapter 2 of the Lord of the Rings. Sorry for the delay. For the last couple of days, I was kind of lazy. By now, I should have finished chapter 3, whatever it is. But I'm gonna do my best to put up videos every day of my Lord of the Rings series. That way, you Lord of the Rings fans obviously love it when I make these videos because I'm delving into the world of Lord of the Rings and I'm reading the book out loud. And when I read the book out loud, the story jumps to life and it becomes more interesting. When I watch the videos, I'm like, oh my god, Lord of the Rings is so much more interesting when I read it out loud. Whereas if you read it on your own in your head, it becomes more. Some sections are pretty boring, man. For me personally, to all you Lord of the Rings fans, do not get mad at me because I know I've read forums online like Fantasy Reddit, Lord of the Rings Reddit. I've read those forums and I've read a lot of the comments, and Lord of the Rings fans are fucking crazy. Crazy people. If you diss Tolkien or say one bad thing about Tolkien, they're gonna go all over you. So to all you Lord of the Rings fans who really love Lord of the Rings, yeah, I'm a Lord of the Rings fan myself. I'm a Lord of the Rings fan myself, but I'm gonna say this for me personally. The book series is pretty boring. Even though the world building is amazing and J.R.R. Tolkien's a legend, he's a genius, the book series is pretty boring for me personally. But when I read it out loud, it's a lot more interesting. But even though the book series is pretty boring for me personally, and it's a drag to get through, obviously, in some sections, I still can't deny the genius of Tolkien as even though the book series is pretty boring, Lord J.R.R. Tolkien is still a legend because he paved the way for pretty much future fantasy authors. And he came up with a world that I can never come up with. Yes, Last of Us has an amazing world, obviously. It's almost as good as Lord of the Rings, but Lord of the Rings has better world building. But I read the books, I'm just like, man, like how the heck did J.R.R. Tolkien come up with this amazing world? As a world building in Lord of the Rings is so deep, it's so in depth, it's crazy. Because I know some Lord of the Rings fans, they take it personally when I say Lord of the Rings is boring. But there's two groups of fans. There's the fans out there who love J.R.R. Tolkien and love everything about him. Oh my god, the book's amazing. I was hooked throughout the whole book. Whereas there's some other fans out there who like the book, who respect J.R.R. Tolkien, but even they can admit, yeah, J.R.R. Tolkien's book is pretty boring in some sections. As Lord of the Rings is a drag to get through, especially Fellowship of the Ring. Fellowship of the Ring, in my opinion, is the worst of the series because the first half of the book it's a huge drag. The only part that's interesting is when the section I read in my last video where Gandalf tells Frodo about the ring. That's pretty interesting. And then in chapter 3 is company when Frodo, Sam, and Pippin leave the Shire and they meet Merry along the way. You have a good you have thousands of words, tens of thousands of words about Frodo. It's pretty much about Frodo, Sam, and Pippin, and they meet Merry along the way. They pretty much walk and they meet people along the way. They meet Farmer Maggot, Mr. Maggot. They meet Merry along the way. In the book, Frodo, Sam, and Pippin. Frodo leaves with Sam and Pippin, and then they meet Merry along the way in the book, if I'm correct. Whereas in the movie, they have Sam and Merry. They have Merry and Pippin meet Frodo and Sam at Mr. Maggot's crops, whatever it is. So they mentioned Mr. Maggot in the movie, but in the book, Frodo and them actually meet Mr. Maggot. They actually go to his house and all that stuff. Obviously, right? And then after Mr. Maggot, they meet Tom Bombadil. Tom Bombadil has his Tom Bombadil, who's an interesting character. That part was a huge drag to get over, as you had all these songs that he kept singing, which was really annoying. I didn't skip through the songs. I read the songs, but man, the songs are really annoying. He has like 5 pages of like non-stop songs of Tom Bombadil singing. I'm like, oh my god, this is fucking annoying. You know what I'm saying? You also have his wife, Goldberry, I think was his wife, right? Was that his wife or his daughter? I don't remember. He has his wife who's Goldberry. She's like beautiful or something like that. I remember that, obviously. And after Tom Bombadil, you have what? You have the Frodo and them. What? You have what is it? They go to this place. I forget a lot of stuff I read, but because I read this I finished this like 6 7 months ago. But I know something. You have this scene where they go to the Barrow Downs, whatever it is, the Barrow Downs, and after that they go to Bree, the Prancing Pony. And that's where they meet Aragon and and the manager of the inn. Also, they go to the Barrow Downs or something like that. I forget what it's called, the name of that place. But for the first half of Fellowship of the Ring is boring. Even the beginning of book 2 is boring. As in when they get to Rivendell, you have like 10,000 plus words of just pure boredom. Because it's just the Council of Elrond's a huge drag. In the movie, the Council of Elrond's only 10 minutes. Whereas if they were to follow like 60% of the Council of Elrond, you're looking at like a 20-minute, 25-minute, 30-minute, 25-minute, 30-minute council. If they were to follow more of the book. But in my opinion, I truly believe, I'm gonna keep saying this. I truly believe that Hollywood should have made 6 movies to do the story justice. In my opinion, Hollywood should have made 6 movies to do the story justice. In my opinion. Right? I believe Hollywood should have done 6 movies. You can't follow word to word. If you were to follow Lord of the Rings exactly 100% word to word, you'd have to do like 8 movies, 9 movies if you were to follow word to word, which you can't do obviously. But if you were to, if they did 6 movies and followed a good 65% of each of the books, each of the 6 books within the 3 books, you would have got more of the full gist of the Lord of the Rings story. In my opinion, they should have done 6 movies. In my opinion. But who knows? Maybe in the future they might do. I don't know. Maybe in a good 60 years from now they might do Lord of the Rings remake. But in my opinion, I don't think anything can touch Lord of the Rings. I think Lord of the Rings, they should respect the original and they shouldn't do a remake. I hope in the future they don't do a remake because I don't think anything can top that Lord of the Rings series that Peter Jackson made. Even though Peter Jackson only followed 20% of the story, in terms of concepts and themes, Peter Jackson was faithful to the book. Obviously, in terms of the themes and the concepts of the story. But in terms of like following the scenes and the dialogue, he only followed like 20% of the story. I'm not kidding around. You think I'm crazy now, but once I read the book, which I did, you guys can clearly see the difference between the movie and the book. But Peter Jackson had no choice because Peter Jackson, he was only given a certain amount of money, and they only allowed him to do 3 movies, and you can't cram all all the Lord of the Rings story in 3 movies. No way. You have to do a minimum of 6 movies to follow just to follow 60, 65, 70% of the story. You have to do 6 movies minimum. You want to follow 100% of the story, you're going to have to do like 8, 9 movies because Lord of the Rings is so rich and in depth, it's crazy. In my opinion, don't follow it word to word, obviously, but if I believe Hollywood should have done 6 movies, they should have put They should have put $600 million towards the 6 movies, $100 million around there into each movie. They would have made their billions. They would have made their wow. Instead of making $2.9 billion, they would have made like $6 billion, as each movie would have grossed $1 billion, about $1 billion. But instead, they split it into 3 movies. Hence, because they split into 3 movies, Peter Jackson had to cut out like 80% of what 80 I don't know 75 80% of what's in the book because you can't cram all that in a 3-hour movie. No way. Whereas for Last Hope for Xanax, I'm actually going to follow like 70% of the story. I'm not going to follow 100% of the story. You can't follow everything, as there's some things in books that don't translate necessarily well on the screen. So there's some scenes I might cut out. Most of the scenes in my book I'm going to put in the movie, but there's some scenes I'm going to cut out. Some dialogue I'm going to cut out. I'm going to add more dialogue in certain scenes and add more scenes for certain scenes to make it more interesting. So I'll follow a good 70% of the book. And Lord, for Last of Us Ange, you're looking at about the same length as Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings, the extended editions are about 12 hours long. For Xange, you're looking at like a 12-hour movie. But there's a good chance it might even be 14 hours, and the editors might have to cut it down to 12 hours. So my last video, I said Last of Us Ange will be longer than Lord of the Rings. Last of Us Ange will be longer than the theatrical version of Lord of the Rings. But the extended editions of Lord of the Rings will be about the same length as Xanus. So you're looking at a good like 12-hour movie. Looks like top notch. And I'm actually going to follow 70% of the book. I'm going to follow 70% of the book. Right? And I'm going to sell my series when it's released on Lulu for $100 for print. You're looking at 1 book. I'm going to keep saying it's 1 book. And the 3 volumes will be in the 1 book. Obviously. So instead of me selling it as a series, which I would love to do, obviously, it's just going to cost you guys more money. So to cut down the cost, I'll say, you know what, I'll just release it as 1 book. and it'll be stored. It'll be just 3 volumes will be stored in the one book. So volume one is pretty much like a novella because volume one will only be like 100 and like I don't know 20, 30 pages. So volume one is pretty much a novella, whereas volume two and volume three are actual novels. Because volume two you're looking at like 180 to 200 pages, and volume three you're looking at like 300 pages. And then volume one, you're probably looking at like 130 pages. So my book will probably be a good like 600 page book around there. Because it's a good 14, 15,000 words longer than this book here. Fellowship of the Ring is 177,000 words, and that's 530 pages. My book is 193,000 words, as you're looking at a good like 560, 600 pages, depending on the margins and the font size and all that stuff. It just depends on the margins, the alignments, all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? I might have my font bigger. I might have a bigger font to that way I have more pages in my book. But most books, most fantasy novels have 12-inch font. So I'm going to keep it at 12-inch font for what? I'm going to keep it at 12-inch font for what? For Lord of the for Last of Zanus. And you're looking at like a hardcover, a nice hardcover. You're gonna have a Last of Zanus, Ivan O'Mara, and you have Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3. Remember that book, that Lord of the Rings book? I read Lord of the Rings book I showed you in my Phase 6 analysis. You're looking at something like that for my book, man. That's some top notch, man. I'll be selling it on the Lou for $100 to print. You don't want to, if you can't afford it, or you just don't want to pay that much money. It's worth $100 because Last of Us well, I'll take you for a ride. Look at the best fantasy novel ever written. You don't want to do that. You can just pay a cheap $22, and you can read the ebook on your laptop. And I told you, Zanus is so good that all you fantasy book nerds who love Lord of the Rings, once you read my book, you're finally like, yeah, Last of Zanus is a better story than Lord of the Rings because Ivan kept me more hooked than J.R.R. Tolkien. J.R.R. Tolkien has better world building than Ivan, obviously. It's better world building, obviously. But Last of Zanus is a better story, and I was way more hooked reading Zanus than I was Lord of the Rings, as Lord of the Rings is a fucking drag to get through. Because a lot of sections of the book are very boring. Even though it's amazing world building, a lot of sections of the book are boring. Whereas my book, the whole story, you're hooked. Even Volume 1 is pretty interesting. I just finished going over all of Volume 1. I now finished my first chapter, Lithia, today. And I'll be going over the rest of Volume 2. Every time I read my book, I've read my book many times now. Every time I read, I'm always hooked. I'm never bored. I can reread my book over and over again. Every time I read, I'm hooked because it's so cool delving into the world of the upperlands, lowlands, and all these amazing characters that jump on the page. That's why my book is an amazing book. My book is so good, you're going to read it like 10, 20 times in your lifetime. Even more, perhaps. I guarantee you a lot of the fans, when my Last of Us movie is available for purchase on Amazon, right? I guarantee you all the fans are going to reread the book to build excitement for the movie. Hey, before, I don't know, Ivan's movie is coming out in a week. Before his movie comes out in a week, I'm going to read his book to build excitement for the Last of Us The Last of Us for the Last of Us movie, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a thing where I might reread the Lord of the Rings books. Maybe not. I don't know if I can read it again, but I'll reread the Lord of the Rings books. I'll binge through it. I'll read all 3 books because I'm going to keep this box as treasury. I might buy a better edition, or I might just keep this. I'm not going to waste my money buying another edition. I'm going to keep this book. I kept it in pretty good condition. I'm going to keep this this Lord of the Rings box as treasury. And then what I'll do is once I finish filming Last of Us, I don't know, you're looking at 2027. You guys are still taking for granted. Around there, right? 2027, 2028, I should be filming Zanus. Around that time when I release my movie, when I finish filming, when me and my wife finish filming, I'll go home to my nice condo and then we'll chill for a good couple months. And what I'll do is during those 2 months, I'll read the Lord of the Rings books. And then I'll read the Lord of the Rings books. And then after that, I'll watch them. I'm going to buy my own 4K Blu-ray collection set of Lord of the Rings. I'm going to buy it when I'm king. I'm going to buy my own 4K Blu-ray collection set as well as The Hobbit. And I'm going to read the books. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read the books again to build excitement. And I'm going to rewatch the movies in 4K Blu-ray on my nice private IMAX theater. I'll watch it with my wife. She won't mind watching Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is an amazing movie. And after that, I'm going to reread Zanus before Zanus gets released. And once the movie gets released, I watch the movie, obviously. I'm going to reread my book, Zanus, to build excitement for my Last of Zanus movie. I'm also going to read Lord of the Rings, because Lord of the Rings, For some reason, Lord of the Rings builds excitement for me releasing Zanus, because Lord of the Rings is an amazing fantasy world. Hence why when I read it, it builds excitement for me releasing my Zanus book, because Zanus is an amazing fantasy world I created, as well as Lord of the Rings is an amazing fantasy world that J.R.R. Tolkien created. So, I told you guys the countdown's ticking. As all I have to do is just go over my book one more time. I'm already on volume 2. The Lithia chapter is very, very long. It took me about two and a half to 3 hours to go over the whole Lithia volume. But all the other chapters, with the exception of the Excess of Sacrifice, those chapters are short. I can go over the 2 chapters in one day. So in a couple of days from now, I'll finish volume 2. And then volume 3 is really, really fucking long because all the chapters are like 50 pages plus. Volume 45, 50 pages plus on Microsoft Word. And so those chapters takes me a good 2 to 3 days to go over. I can go over it in like 2 days. So in a good like 6 to like 8 days out. And I don't know, September 20th, I'll be done going over my whole book. The end of September around there, September 25th or something like that, I'll be done going over my whole book, fixing up my typos. I told you, even though I went over my book one more time, there's a good chance you might still catch typos. Maybe a misspelling of a word. Maybe instead of this dialogue, I put a period instead of a comma. You're gonna catch those minor typos. But my book is in pristine form, as most of my grammar is good quality. As I put it on Grammy, and Grammy said most of my grammar is good. But there's some things that Grammy didn't pick up. Hence why I had to I had to fix the word ale and all that stuff. Ale is spelled A-L-E, whereas before I spelled it A-I-L, which is ailments. That means you're ill, obviously. No, I have to change it to A-L-E. When I did my when I went over my book, obviously. So where was I? I was on page 71, I believe, right? Yeah, I was on page 71 last time. So I'm gonna finish up volume 2 today. I'll babble on for a good 13 more minutes and I'll start reading what? I'll finish off chapter 2 today. You only have a good, I don't know, how much pages here? Yeah, a good 84 pages, so a good 13 pages of reading, and I'll be done. It'll take me a good, I don't know, 45, 50 minutes to read 13 pages. So I'm gonna continue on with my interesting series. Obviously, you Lord of the Rings fans are obviously happy because it's fun when Ivan reads Lord of the Rings, my favorite book, and he brings the world to light. Yeah, it's amazing, obviously. So I'm gonna make this video, and after I'm done, I'm going to what? I don't know, go to the store, get a beer, get smokes, I'll order shawarma, and I'll enjoy the show afterwards. The reason why I'm making my videos during the day is because at nighttime there's people past couple of days at nighttime there's people upstairs. So if I make it during the nighttime, they're gonna come downstairs and tell me to shut the camera off. Hence why I have to make it during the day when everyone's awake. I have no choice. You might hear some noise upstairs, but I have no choice but to make it during the day because at nighttime the past couple of days there's people roaming around upstairs. Hence why I have to make. Hence why I'm making my videos now. I'm gonna keep saying this. Well, the countdown's ticking, man. As you only have what? Today's September 9th. We only have what, a month and like 3 weeks left to live with Mary. After that, I'm done, man. All I have to do, I told you, I showed you guys the layout of my book. My book is formatted, not perfectly formatted. There's just some alignment issues, obviously, but it's good enough as I have to do everything myself. As Microsoft Word is professional enough for you, it's still professional, obviously. Like I said in my past videos, I deleted. But you only have like a month and like 3 weeks of the item here. I'm gonna pump up my Lord of the Rings series. I'll read all of book 1. Most of book 1 or all of book 1. We'll see what happens. Stay tuned for my Swimming with the Sharks videos. That video I'll be making towards, I don't know, the end of the month. I'll make that video. You're looking at a very interesting video for that. And after that, I'm pumping up my Lord of the Rings videos. I'll make my self-published digital publishing video. That video will be interesting. I'm thinking if I should make it running on my board or I should make it on with my background. I think I might make it with my background because you can't see my markers are all ran out now, and I think I'm done with videos with my board. I'm just gonna make it with my background. I'm gonna do what? I'm gonna do a remaster of my remember my self-published digital publishing video that kicked off my series. I'm gonna redo a video like that. I'm gonna talk more in depth this time, as my last video was only like 30 minutes long. I'm gonna do a nice like 1 hour and 45-minute video. I'm gonna talk about why self-publishing is better than traditional publishing. You guys already know. I already made the video. I'm gonna talk about in depth why self-publishing is better than traditional publishing, and how to all you established authors, I recommend you self-publish. That way you keep full control of your novel. You don't have to worry about the publishing houses forcing you to write a 3-book series. You also make way more money. You make 50 to like 60% off, depending on how you price your books. You can make up to 40 to 60% off your books, depending on how you price your books, obviously, and up to, I don't know, 60-70% off ebook, depending on how you price your books, obviously. If you don't price your books well, the companies are probably going to take more percentage of the pie. So if you price your book, you don't price your books well, chances are you'll make like 40%, 50% or something like that off the books, which is still much better than making 5 to 50% in traditional publishing. And then for your ebooks, you can make like 50 to 70%, depending on how you price your books, obviously. The more you price your books, the higher percentage you'll make. Because I'm pricing my books at the high end, I'm going to guarantee to make my 60% off my print. I'm going to make my 70% off the ebook because I'm pricing my ebook for $22. As most ebooks, people price for like a couple bucks, like $2, $3, $4, $5. Well, I'm pricing mine for $22. Hence why I'm going to make my 70% off Lulu, my ebook, and 60% off print. Let's see. I'm going to make that video, and I'm going to pump out more of my Lord of the Rings video. And then my final announcement I'm going to make at the end of October, because I get my last check at the end of this month. September 30th is my last check. So I'm enjoying this check that I have now, like getting beer, smoke, shawarma. Shawarma is amazing, by the way. And I've been watching some movies, getting laugh on my videos, watching stuff on YouTube. And then once I get that last check, my last check on September 30th, my last welfare check September 30th, and I get my government checks, like, I don't know, $170 and $160 government checks on top of that, right? I'm going to enjoy those checks. I'm going to pump up my Lord of the Rings videos. And then once the end of October and years, I don't know, once the end of October and years, I might just take a nice walk, have a smoke, take a nice walk around the block. Because I know once I make that final announcement, your true demonic nature is going to show. And I know you're going to trap me with death or sharing when I didn't do anything wrong. I'm fucking innocent. And once I make that, for the final announcement, I'm going to talk about my life. I'm not going to talk about the people that I've met in my life. I prefer to keep that personal, but I'm going to talk about like my life from birth. I was born in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. I moved to Montreal. Obviously, at the age of 6, I moved to Montreal. We lived there for a good 2-3 years. Then I moved to Hull. I'm going to talk about how I lived in that shitty apartment. My whole life, my childhood, I've been living in an apartment, pretty much a shitty apartment, which is funny because my family are the gatekeepers. Hence why I'm going to be so shocked when I make that announcement. I'm like, oh my god, like, you guys are billionaires at the whole, and you're willing to live in a shitty apartment just to keep me ignorant. That's why I'm going to be so shocked, obviously. So I lived in that shitty apartment, and finally, at the age of 8 or 9, I moved to a house, a pretty nice house. The house I'm living in now is a nice house for a middle class family, obviously. If you're someone who's making $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year, this is a nice neighborhood to live in Elmer, obviously. But for someone of my size, I should be living in a multi-billion-dollar life. I shouldn't be living in a middle-class neighborhood, obviously. So this house is pretty much a ghetto for someone like myself, or the gatekeepers, who are my stepfamily, obviously. Talk about my life. Talk about how my stepfather put me down. Talk about how my teachers put me down. How my so-called friends abandoned me after high school, pretty much. How I got smashed in the face with a beer bottle at prom. How I didn't do good at school. How I managed to finish my school and I got a lot of better marks than all the guys in Darcy for some of my courses. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about how I never had a girlfriend. You know what I'm saying? I never had a girlfriend, how I'm a virgin. I never had sex with a woman. I've been to strip clubs and all that stuff to satisfy myself, but I've never had sex with a woman. I'm a virgin, obviously, at 29. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about how I was depressed for like 8 years. I thought I had a disease, an STD, and so I was very depressed. You guys all know I have the keys, obviously. I'm going to say how I had. I'm going to say how I had an embarrassing life, a very embarrassing life. I'm not going to tell you the embarrassment because it's embarrassing. I'm going to tell you how I had a very embarrassing life, obviously. I'll even talk about. I already said this. I already talked about how I wrote Zanus, but I'm going to reiterate the story of how I started writing Zanus. I already told you guys, but I'm going to talk a bit more in depth how my stepfather kept taking away the PS3, my PS3. They kept breaking all my games. They took away the internet cord, took away the DVD. The one day I decided to write a book, which was an Islamic book, and that led me to writing Zanus. Hence, this amazing story, obviously. And I'll talk about how my family kept putting me down, telling me to go to school. And the whole time the doors were locked on me, obviously. And then how I eventually how I was lost in 2018 around there is when I woke up. 2018 was when I found out that I was God. 2018, when I was 26 years old, I found out I was God. I found out what? My family was gatekeepers. I figured out the puzzle piece. I haven't had you figure it out. I have God on my side. I figured it out, man. I figured out that the doors were locked on me. Well, 2019 is when I figured out when the doors were locked on me, when I applied to that cleaning job. Had I gotten those hours, I would have made like 50 grand a year plus. I would have made 50 grand a year, $50,000 a year. I would have made some good money had I gotten those hours. I would have made like 800, 700, 900 bucks a week, $1,000 a week working that mop fight job. I asked for 60 hours a week. I would have made 800, 700, 900 bucks a week had I gotten that cleaning job. And by now, I would have got my own car. I would have been in my own apartment, obviously. Hence why when the step families yell at me every time, I just ignore them because they're fucking wicked, obviously. I'm gonna mention that. I'm gonna talk about from what I'm talking about. My last memory of life is when I got knocked out with Iraq. I'm gonna talk about my life from when I was a kid to now. Looking at issue for that. And the reason why I want to make that video is because I want once I pay this fee and I suffer death, you know what I'm saying, and you turn me into a porn star. Once I come from that, it's finally gonna hit your minds how wicked you are, and and once I'm king and you see me living the life, you're gonna go back and watch the final announcement. You're gonna be like, oh my god, look at what Ivan went through in his life, an innocent man. I did some bad things in my life, obviously, but compared to everyone else, I'm fucking good. Ivan, look at what Ivan went through in his life, and now he's king. Now he's king with his wife, and now he's living the life. Hence why you guys are gonna cry your eyes out, and it's finally gonna hit your minds how wicked you are to the point where you guys can't say shit anymore. The fact that you did this to someone who's innocent, that's how you know you guys are obviously wicked people. If someone was evil, I can understand you doing this to him. But the fact that you did this to someone who's innocent, you didn't do anything wrong, all because you can't see him have sex. So you're willing to kill an innocent man and cause mess in his life because of his holy nature. When it's not his fault. He's allergic to STDs. It's not his fault. You're willing to cause mess in his life because of his holy nature. All because of your fucking envy. Because you guys are wicked people, obviously. You guys can foolishly believe you're good. You can keep harping on goodness, but there's a saying, actions speak louder than words. Your actions show that you're wicked people, obviously. If you were good people, you never would have caused mess in my life. The fact that you caused mess in my life means you're obviously shows I'm proving how wicked and evil you really are. And you're willing to trap me, have me share for the rest of my life, and trap me with death, separate me from my wife for 30 years, because you guys are wicked people. Lock all doors on me, not talking in public eye. You even act like Vija's not even my wife when you know she's my wife. Because you guys are crazy psychopaths and you're wicked people, obviously. And after that, I'll be done. Let my stepfather know. I'm going to cry my eyes. I'll pay this fee. I'll save my wife. And once I come out from death, a new man, you know what I'm saying, hot, glowing beauty, full grown beard, you know what I'm saying, don't hate me. Me and my wife will make our billions. We're gonna sell in Vancouver, make our plans, build our 100 million with a condo, buy the luxury jet, buy the luxury yacht, buy our nice clothes. We're gonna experience the unheard of international fame in my book. So you're looking at the best story ever told, best fantasy novel ever written. Obviously, me and my wife are gonna experience all that. And then we're gonna hire George Lucas, have him help us start Sky Source. And then I'm gonna in 2024 around there, I don't know, 2024, 2025 around there, I should be hard at work in the office, writing my script for Zanus, and I'll be living my life. Well, you guys are all gonna be left behind. You're gonna be bad. Oh my God, because you made me pay a horrific price. You're my wife. You're also gonna pay by me left behind. I said, no way in hell am I gonna let you get your full cake. No way in hell am I gonna let you have me. You might hear the noise. No way in hell am I gonna let you have me pay a price to be my wife, and you not pay a price. No, man, because you made me pay a price, you're also gonna pay a price. You're gonna be left out and bad. Oh my God. See. Now, before I start reading Lord of the Rings, I've been on for almost 30 minutes here now. I'm going to talk about Amazon, how do not let the sharks dupe you, as I'm not going any higher or lower than 40%. 40%, a flat. Amazon gets a flat 40%, no hidden fees. I don't want them charging me for any of the payments. You get a flat 40%, I get a flat 60%. That's my final offer. I'm not even gonna. There's no room for bargaining. If Amazon wants to take a percentage off the payments for the hidden fees, I'm like, look, man, you're not taking a percentage of any of the payments. I'm giving you 40%. You're gonna make billions. You're gonna make, I don't know, 2.8 billion dollars of free money off my royalties. The final offer is a flat 40%. You get a flat 40%. I get a flat 60%. That's the final offer. No ifs, ands, or buts. If Amazon's greedy and they want 50% of the royalties, I'm gonna tell Amazon, okay, I'm not doing business with you. I'm just gonna release my movie online, as I don't even have to release my movie. I don't even have to partner with Amazon. I can easily release my movie online. I'll even make more money. But the problem with online is less professional. My movie won't come with posters. As for posters, I need a distributor to ship my posters. I can easily build warehouses, but you just to build warehouses will cost you millions of dollars. You have to hire all these people. There's no point of building all these warehouses just to distribute posters. No, you're just wasting money. And the moment you have all these warehouses, it becomes crazy, and you now have huge overhead costs. You have to pay all these thousands of employees. You have to do like I can easily choose to build my own to distribute movies myself, build all these warehouses, but to do that will cost me so much money. So instead of me paying all, in other words, the 40% that Amazon's taking is pretty much the 40% that I'm going to have to pay to build all these warehouses around the world. Hence why it's either I partner with Amazon. Amazon already has warehouses worldwide. They're in over 100 countries around the world. All the second world countries or first world countries, and all those countries. They're in South Korea, Japan, China. They're in every country in Europe. They're in Canada. They're in the States. They're in Mexico. They're in South Africa. They're all over around the world. Hence why they're worth a nice 4%. But my offer is a flat 40%. No if, ands, or buts. No room for bargaining. And I get 60%. Scott, me and my wife get 60%. Amazon gets 40%. That's my final offer. If Amazon's greedy, I'm gonna look, man. I can easily just release my movie online. I'll make more money off my movies anyways. You make a lot of money off 4K Blu-ray if you price it well, which I will obviously. But if I release my movies online, I'd make more money. I make a bit more money obviously because I don't have to worry about distribution costs, and there's no profit sharing going on. Whereas with I partner with Amazon, there's profit sharing going on. Hence why that's my final offer. You get flat 40%. I get 60%. On their site it says 50% for America and 40% for other markets. But for me, it's 40% for all the markets. Even in America, you only get 40%. I don't want any hidden fees for the payments like PayPal. Like PayPal's taking a certain percentage of my book sales. I don't want Amazon doing that. I don't want you taking like $500 million off the payments. No. You get a flat 40%, I get a flat 60%. That's my final offer. And they're going to agree to the deal because they know they're going to make the billions of my movies. What should I count here?